Hey there and welcome. Today we're going to do something pretty cool. We're going to dive into one of the most famous graduation speeches ever given by the one and only Steve Jobs. He basically took 50 years of his life experience and squeezed it all into just 15 powerful minutes. And right now, we're going to break it all down. So, let's just start with that big question. Can 15 minutes actually change your life? I mean, really? Well, according to the co-founder of Apple, the answer is a huge yes. He believed the lessons he learned, the hard way, could be a kind of roadmap for anyone willing to listen.
All right, so here's how he broke it all down. It's actually super simple. He told 3 stories. That's it. 3 stories to sum up his whole philosophy. The first is all about connecting the dots. The second is about love and loss. The third, and maybe the heaviest, is about death. And then we'll wrap it all up with that iconic final message he left everyone with.
So let's get into story number 1. It starts with a young Steve Jobs, a college dropout who feels totally lost, but he's about to stumble upon a lesson that will shape everything.
So picture this. Jobs gets into Reed College, a super expensive school, like Stanford level expensive. But after just 6 months, he's out. He just couldn't see the value in it. He had absolutely no clue what he wanted to do with his life, and he felt awful just watching his working-class parents' hard-earned life savings basically go up in smoke. So he made a call that must have been terrifying. He dropped out.
But here's where the story gets really interesting. He drops out, but he doesn't actually leave campus. For the next year and a half, he's basically a drop-in, sleeping on his friends' floors and just auditing the classes that genuinely fascinated him. One of those classes? Calligraphy. Yeah, the art of beautiful handwriting. At the time, it seemed totally random, with absolutely zero practical application for his life. Or so he thought.
Okay, now fast forward 10 years. A whole decade later, Jobs is in a room designing the very first Macintosh computer, and suddenly, boom, that calligraphy class comes rushing back to him. He uses everything he learned to give the Mac beautiful fonts. It became the first computer ever with multiple typefaces and proportionally spaced fonts. And get this, since Windows pretty much just copied the Mac, the reason your personal computer has this feature today is because a college dropout followed his curiosity 10 years earlier.
And this is the whole point of the story. You just can't connect the dots looking forward. It's impossible. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever you want to call it. You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect down the road. Because that belief is what gives you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it takes you off the beaten path. All right, on to the second story. And this one is way more dramatic. It's a story about hitting absolute rock bottom professionally and finding the strength to get back up. So by the time Steve Jobs turned 30, he was on top of the world. In just 10 years, he'd taken Apple from a 2 guys in a garage operation to a massive $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. And then he got fired.
Yeah, you heard that right. Fired from the very company he started. He'd had a major falling out with the CEO he himself had hired, and the board of directors, well, they sided with the other guy. The thing that had been the focus of his entire adult life was just gone. He was crushed. And it wasn't just a private failure, it was incredibly public. He even said he thought about just running away from Silicon Valley entirely.
But then, slowly, something started to change in his mind. He realized that even though he'd been kicked out, he still loved what he did. In fact, looking back, he said getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have possibly happened to him. All the heaviness of being successful was suddenly gone, and it was replaced by this lightness of being a beginner again, not so sure of everything. It set him free.
And that freedom kicked off the most creative period of his life. In the next 5 years, he went on an absolute tear. He started a new company called Next. Then he started another little company you might know, Pixar. You know, the one that made Toy Story, the world's first computer animated movie? And then, in one of the most incredible comeback stories ever, Apple bought Next, and just like that, Steve Jobs was back, leading the very company that had fired him.
The lesson here is so powerful. Sometimes, life is going to hit you in the head with a brick. When it does, don't lose faith. He was convinced that the only way to do great work is to love what you do. And if you haven't found that yet, keep looking. Whatever you do, don't settle. And that brings us to his third and final story. This one's the most personal, and it's all about facing our own mortality.
When he was just 17, Jobs wrote a quote that just stuck with him his whole life.
And for the next 33 years, every single morning, he would look in the mirror and ask himself, if today were the very last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? And whenever the answer was no for too many days in a row, he knew he needed to change something.
Well, about a year before he gave this speech, that question became chillingly real. A scan found a tumor on his pancreas. The doctors told him it was a type of cancer that was pretty much a death sentence, and that he had maybe 3 to 6 months to live. They told him to go home and get his affairs in order, which, as he said, is just doctor speak for prepare to die. So he lived with that devastating diagnosis for an entire day. But that evening, they did a biopsy, and what they found was nothing short of a miracle. It turned out to be an extremely rare form of pancreatic cancer, one that could actually be cured with surgery. He had the operation, and he survived. It was the closest he'd ever come to death, and it made everything crystal clear for him. And his takeaway from this is maybe the most important lesson of all. Remembering that you are going to die is the best tool to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is literally no reason not to follow your heart. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. You have to have the courage to follow your heart and your intuition, because somehow they already know what you truly want to become.
So all of this, these 3 huge life lessons, it all culminates in his final message. It's a simple phrase he saw on the back of a magazine when he was young, and it became his wish for himself and for everyone else.
So what does it mean? Well, stay hungry means you should never be satisfied. Always keep that drive, that ambition to do something new and to learn more. And stay foolish? That means you should never think you know it all. Always be humble enough, open enough, foolish enough to think you can always learn something new. Keep that beginner's mindset.
And that was his final wish for those graduating students, and really, his wish for all of us. Stay hungry, stay foolish.
So I'll leave you with a final question that kind of ties all 3 of these stories together. After hearing all of this, what is your heart and your intuition telling you to do right now?